So this week we're going to talk about Blue Beetle. It's the newest addition to the DC universe. Is it, or is it the first edition of the new DC universe?
Yes, it is James Gunn's big reboot. This is the first. The Flash is not canon.
The Flash is no longer canon.
Yes!
Let's go! That's gonna peak horribly.
That is the pop on my mic because I don't have a pop filter is gonna be dreadful.
Oh Hello everyone, welcome back to another installment of the Film Me In podcast, where this week we're going to film you in really, really sad. No, I mean blue, because we're talking about Blue Beetle.
Oh, that's awful. That was awful. How long did it take you to come up with that?
Just, everything's in the moment. You think I prep anything I say?
That one feels like you came up with it in the shower. You snapped your fingers and went, "Oh my god, I've got an idea."
By Jove, I've got it.
Great Scott!
I'm your host, Xander, and with me this week, it's just a two-man job. I've got Hamish with me.
It's just me. Everyone else was unavailable or didn't want to see the movie.
Didn't care this week. Everyone's had a week off, which is, why there's so many of us. So this week,
there's so many of us. Exactly.
So this one's actually going to flow a lot better than most of the podcasts because it's just going to be one-on-one.
I genuinely think this might be the most easy thing to edit for you possible because you're not
so excited
intercutting people shit talking one another.
Yeah, I'm not ready for next week when we might have 6 people, but that's something
that is going to be like a 5-hour-long recording.
This week, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Blue Beetle, the newest addition into the DC universe. But first, before we get into it, do you want to tell me a moan?
Right, my moan is super specific and kind of. It's very kind of topical to my own situation. So I currently have to live with my family back home because we lost our flat. Me and Alex lost our flat, and it sucks. But you know what else sucks even more? 7-Up. Oh, I have a bone to pick with 7-Up. My family have no Coke in the house at all. Nothing. It's either water, tea, or 7-Up. Right?
Okay.
And that is a morbid way to live. Let me tell you, it is an absolutely dreadful, dreadful way to live. Some days you get a can of 7-Up and it's beautifully sweet. It's just a little bit limey, a little bit lemony, and it's perfect. And other days, 7-Up finds you and it beats you with a rock. It takes your money, your credit card information, and it sleeps with your wife. 7-Up is it's like the Marmite of drinks. You don't know if you either love it or you hate it. And if you're caught in that weird place in between, 7-Up has its fucking way with you.
I don't know, I just think it's lemonade, isn't it?
No, it's not. It's so much worse. I've been drinking cans of 7-Up for the past week because there is nothing else in this house to drink other than our nasty water, which tastes like you're drinking I don't know, lead-infused water.
No. See, our water in where I live, it tastes slightly metallic.
Yeah,
and I kind of like that.
Ours tastes. Oh, you do great over where I am. You do great.
I kind of like it. It's it's like a little bit irony, a little bit coppery. like someone's just put a drop of blood in it instead of cordial. That kind of thing.
I have just lost a little bit of respect for you now. No, 7-Up is dreadful. I have a bone to pick with it. It just needs to be fucking consistent per can.
This is the second fizzy drink you've had problems with on this podcast.
What was my first?
It was Fanta. And I think the price of bottles of Fanta.
Oh, it was, yeah.
And I'm just curious: does 7-Up have Nazi origins as well? Or
I don't know. Give me just
Fanta?
2 seconds. Who came up with 7-Up? Let's find out.
7-Up was actually Hitler's favourite drink. Can't imagine them drinking 7-Up during the war, though. I'll be honest. Feels very modern.
Actually,
it's owned by Pepsi, isn't it? 7-Up, because Sprite is owned by Coke, and 7-Up's. I'm sure 7-Up's Pepsi.
No, 7-Up's American.
Yeah, Pepsi's American.
Yeah. Made by Charles Leiper Grigg, inventor of 7 Up, originally known as Bib Label Lithinated Lemon Lime Soda. He invented the drink on October 1929 in St. Louis, Missouri.
Oh,
Or
cool.
Missouri.
Well, that was fun.
That was your little educational piece for the day.
I haven't drunk 7-Up in a long time.
Keep it that way.
My dad, though, really loves cherry 7-Up, so whenever we see it in the supermarket, he goes crazy for it.
That sounds dreadful.
And if we're like in a place where, you know, they do those mix-up drinks where you get like it's a dispenser and you can add flavorings, I never do that because I feel like the flavorings always taste like really separate to the rest of the drink. But my dad always gets like cherry flavored whatever, and especially 7-Up. So there you go. It has a place in some people's hearts.
Evidently.
My moan is about. So we live in a streaming era for movies.
So you were saying we live in a society, and I was going to.
We do live in a society, but we also live in a streaming era for movies, and almost every film is available on a platform of sorts, whether it's Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus. There's so many streaming services now that it seems like everything is on it. And I've been doing, I mean, I mentioned it last week, I've been watching I watched all the Friday the 13th films, all the Nightmare on Elm Street films.
Yep.
And it's kind of irked me how most of these movies are not available on anything.
Yeah.
So I'm now watching all the Halloween films, and there is one of the original 6 that is available to stream on UK streaming services, and that is Halloween 6.
Oh.
And that's on Paramount Plus for some reason. The rest of them, nowhere. Thankfully, I have the first one on Blu-ray. I have the rebootquel on Blu-ray, and then the sequels are on either Netflix or Now TV. And the remakes from the late 2000s are also on Netflix. But there's 5 Halloween films, or there's 4 Halloween films, 2, 3, 4, and 5, that I have no real way to watch other than Mystic Arts.
The Dark Arts.
Yeah, like none of the Freddy films are on anything either. There's a bunch of the Friday the 13th films that I had to acquire, and it's a nightmare. Why did they make these so difficult? These classic slasher films. Why did they make them so difficult to find?
Would you be able to find them on Shudder?
No, that's it. I've got an app called Just Watch.
Okay.
And it tells you where everything is. So if it's on any of the streaming services anywhere, whether you have it or not, it will tell you what it's on. And it's a really great app. I recommend you get it. It's really useful. But I've looked for every single one of the movies. Nowhere. Not even Shudder. And I was about to say, Shudder is a specific streaming service for horror films.
You'd think Shudder would bring them on, because, I mean, for anyone at home listening, like, Shudder's awesome.
Shudder is really cool.
I really enjoy the content Shudder puts out. I can't afford a subscription, but when I could, when I did, I mean, I used that subscription to a weird amount.
Yeah,
like
there's a lot of good stuff on there. There's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't picked them up, because the people that watch Shudder are like the real kind of die-hard fans of horror, and to not have those kind of, I want to say like the golden age of horror movies up there.
Yeah,
it's heartbreaking.
A little bit, yeah. So I'm currently trying to work my way through Halloween. I watched the 4th one last night, so just a few more to go. I think there's still like 8 left.
You're at the marathon now. It's like this is when it gets morbid. This is when we learn about every small little nitpick piece of origin about Michael Myers, and it all gets very confusing.
Yep, I'm really excited. So yeah, that's my moan. Just make these things available to people. Or at least, because I know that in England as well, it's so hard to find these things on DVD and Blu-ray. And it's like, there's only specific box sets you can get for the Mike Myers movies. Like, I think you can get 4, 5, and 6 in a DVD pack, but they're also like 30 quid on Amazon, because they're so rare. I don't think a lot of these films were released in cinemas over here as well. Like at the time, I think they were mainly released in America, and because they were so cheap. Because I've been looking recently at like box office numbers for them, and for all the Halloween films, Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, all the sequels, they have no international numbers.
Really?
So they were released in North America, but it doesn't look like they were released anywhere else.
They didn't get a wider release. That's quite interesting because you've got movies like The Human Centipede 2, which was outright banned in the UK for its content. So I don't know. I mean, the UK's screening laws have always been stricter than others. So I don't know. Maybe there's a story there. Maybe we look into it.
Perhaps. Good moan section. Awesome. And a brisk one as well.
Would you look at that, Sander? Only 5 minutes, 45 seconds!
We're so good at timekeeping. So this week, we're going to talk about Blue Beetle. It's the newest addition to the DC Universe. Is it, or is it the first edition of the new DC Universe?
Yes, it is. James Gunn's big reboot. This is the first. The Flash is not canon.
The Flash is no longer canon.
Yes! Yes!
Let's go! That's gonna peak horribly.
That is the pop on my mic because I don't have a pop filter is gonna be dreadful.
Oh my god. So this follows Jaime Reyes, who suddenly finds himself in possession of an ancient relic of alien biotechnology called the Scarab, and it forms a suit around him. And he fights some baddies, and Susan Sarandon's in it.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we first talk about how this movie's been released?
Yes, agreed.
It's already been classed as a box office bomb, and with fairly good reason, but also maybe not. We'll talk about it. So this is released in the middle of a writers and actors strike. So there can be no publicity for this movie from the actors.
Yeah.
Or really anyone involved, which is rough as it is. It's also released right after maybe the biggest box office bomb in comic book movie history, and maybe even history of movies in The Flash.
I don't know. Black Adam's contending with that for me.
No, but like in terms of money.
Oh, in terms of like statistic, yeah.
Yeah, statistically, The Flash is the worst box office bomb in DC history. And so trying to come back off that came out just 2 months ago, remember? And Blue Beetle now has to follow up on that. They've not given it enough time to breathe, really, in terms of, you know, the status of the universe. Everyone thinks this is over now, but yet we've still got Aquaman coming out in December, apparently, even though we've still not got any trailers for it. And that's still a part of the previous DC universe, but this is the new DC universe, but it was meant to go to HBO Max originally, and then it's been released into cinemas. The whole thing is a total mess. It opened last weekend. It wasn't even #1 in the world on its opening day, which is outrageous. So it only grossed about $45 million worldwide in its opening weekend. It cost about 104, which is much better than anything else we've seen this summer, so it's not going to lose a ton of money. I think overall they probably spent, including marketing and stuff like that, about $200 million. So they could push this further forward, but it's still not looking good for this already.
Yeah, I mean, we've also got to look into it as in this movie this movie was in production when James Gunn took over.
Yeah.
And a lot of projects, I assume James Gunn has axed.
Yeah.
This movie was given the green light because it's kind of self-contained.
It is.
It's doing its own little thing, and I really appreciate that. However, it cannot be easy to be making a movie that was meant to be set in a wider expanded universe whenever an entire overhaul of that studio occurs. And you've just kind of got to get booted out the door because, shit, we need something that's like kind of universally safe to our canon.
Yeah.
and that's gonna kind of it. It's all, like, this is done. Let's just push it out there. I feel as if Blue Beetle was maybe thrown to the wolves just a little bit, for the sake of staving them off.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's I do feel sorry for it because it's not bad. Like, and it probably could have done a lot better given a little bit more of
The
a marketing push
circumstances, yeah.
and the circumstances, and because I really like the main actor. I think you pronounce it Zolo Mariduena.
I'm not gonna try because I don't want to seem like an asshole.
Um,
But
well, my name is Xander. It's spelt with an X. His name is spelt with an X, so I'm gonna go with Zolo.
okay.
He's really good in this, and I think he's really charismatic, and I want him to do some stuff in the future.
I mean, if you've watched Cobra Kai, the guy's very, very talented.
Oh, he's in Cobra Kai.
He's the main character of Cobra Kai.
Holy shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you not watched Cobra Kai?
I have not watched Cobra Kai.
Oh my god, go do that, you monster!
Yeah.
That's my new moan for this week. Xander hasn't watched Cobra Kai. Yeah, no, I think also it doesn't really help that Blue Beetle, having once been a DC household name in the golden age of comics, is no longer one at all.
Yeah. No, I know barely anything about this character.
It's kind of unfortunate, and Jaime Reyes is the update to the original Blue Beetle. He's the modern day update, the modern day person to take the mantle.
Yeah.
He's the update to the character, but it's very, very unfortunate because he's not as a household name as like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash. I think a lot of people were kind of skeptical about showing to this movie. People who especially aren't comic book fans. My parents would not touch a comic book movie, but if it's Spider-Man, they love Spider-Man. They know Spider-Man, if you get me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Blue Beetle, could I convince them to go see this movie? Not a chance.
No chance in hell.
So, yeah, outside of your comic book fans and your movie buffs, it's not reaching.
No, not at all. It's gotten some good reviews. It's currently fresh at 77% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay.
The average rating's a bit lower. It's just a 6.4.
Oof.
So that's sort of actually more middle of the pack. The audience score is 91%, which is really high. And on IMDb at the moment, it's sat at 6.8. So it's genuinely, like, favourable. People are liking it. I think I'm probably a little bit more negative on this movie than you are, based on your reactions to how I've been talking.
I'm so much more of a DC fan than I am a Marvel fan.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy to see that DC have the ability to put out Blue Beetle's not like a masterpiece, but like a favorable movie. I wouldn't say like a brilliant movie, but like a good movie. I enjoyed it. I think most people came out of that movie enjoying it. I had a few people come out of my cinema screenings. I overheard them saying that they couldn't wait for a sequel, and I was like, shit.
Never gonna happen, but yeah, sure, go off. I think we'll see. I think if they're going forward with this, I think we'll see the character again.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't think he's going to get another solo movie. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I certainly enjoy this movie more because I'm glad to get DC content for one, and I'm glad to actually see a DC movie with a somewhat well written story. It wasn't like amazing, but it was enjoyable.
I just couldn't help feel like I've seen this movie before.
Yeah, I said
it feels like a retread of so many things. I've put here. It feels a bit like a weird mashup of Iron Man and Venom. Somehow.
Yeah, I said this coming in last week. I think I said this to you specifically, that it's gonna wind up being an Iron Man 1 movie. And people are gonna shit on it for being an Iron Man 1 movie. However, people still herald Iron Man 1 as like, oh, it's just like, it's the start of Tony Stark's journey. I love you 3000. Oh my god. Like, if you look at Iron Man 1, it's not a brilliant movie. It's good, but like, I'm not.
It's just very basic. It's
Yeah,
bare bones.
yeah, I'm not gagging to rewatch Iron Man 1. And I think the same goes for Blue Beetle in that regard, that I've watched it, I've gone, holy shit, that's actually quite nice. I'm interested to see where the character goes. I think it builds a nice little local universe around it.
Yeah.
And I think it's neat.
I see that's the problem with trying to reboot trying to make a cinematic universe, because you need the reason the MCU works is because that first Iron Man movie was so solid. And it's bare bones, and it's a good movie. Like, sure, if you look back at where the MCU is now, you're like, yeah, it's a bit bare bones, whatever. It's charming, and this is the exact same. But we're as an audience, we're past that. So they're trying to do an Iron Man here and have just a bare bones plot, have this character, and flesh him out and keep it like that. But as an audience, we've seen this before, done worse and done better, and we're just kind of over it. We expect more from superheroes movies now, not just to be fine and serviceable until we get to. We're very impatient as audiences now.
We
as well.
are, yeah. I mean,
so I just don't see a universe where this would have ever worked. Like they're doing Superman in a couple of years, they're having a couple of members of the Justice League in to make sure this universe is already lived in.
yeah.
To say, like, this universe has been around for a while. We're hopping into these adventures. Superman is already an established hero, and there's going to be a Hawkman, a Green Lantern in there as well. So to have this and just have it be so bare bones, it's feel like, it feels a bit like,
I don't think
it feels a little
feels necessarily bare bones. The universe does feel lived in, I think, with this. I think there's a good number of notes in that movie which would say otherwise.
yeah.
I do 100% get what you're saying, though. I think I hate the term like superhero movie burnout, because like it's used so much by
Fatigue.
Yeah. But I do think we're hitting the point when the market's becoming saturated. It's like I made a point last year to my friend that I think superhero movies are going to very quickly become like the way you read comics. You don't need to read every single book that comes out. You can go and watch the book that you like, and then tune in for the bigger stuff because it includes the book that you like.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it might be going at this rate.
I mean, it already is. Like, I've not watched Secret Invasion, but I still feel perfectly fine going seeing the Marvels in November and not being worried that I'm going to be out of the loop because Nick Fury's in it.
Exactly. And I do think fatigue's happening because the issue is with superheroes. There's so many characters that have so many parallels to parallels to one another. Like you said, it feels like Iron Man and Venom taped into one. And unfortunately, that's the character of Jaime Reyes' Blue Beetle with the Scarab. There's gonna always be, no matter what, unless you're getting those like really unique characters or kind of household names that are so emblazoned in our mind that they will trump any other that comes along.
Yeah.
I think there's always gonna be similarities, and there's a difference between asking someone to pay like £4 for a comic and shelling out near a tenner for the cinema. I don't mind if I read a comic. I look at the art, I think, oh, the art's nice, or I think, oh, the art's shit. And actually, no, not the art shit. Sorry to all the artists out there, but like, I don't prefer your art. Um, and then like I read the comic, I go, oh, there's similarities there, haha, that's funny. And then I've got that comic, I can read that comic, I can choose to continue. I haven't like burned 3 hours of my life away going to the cinema, paying a tenner, coming back home.
Yeah, it's time.
Yeah,
People don't have time to see everything nowadays.
exactly.
I was going to say that this feels a little bit like the Amazing Spider-Man,
No.
in a sense that we've already seen this kind of origin before, and like the Amazing Spider-Man films, the universe does feel a little bit lived in. Like there are things that are going on behind the scenes, and overall it's just perfectly fine. Like there's nothing to write home about. I think most people would agree that it looks good, like the CG looks good, and that's really it.
You know what? I don't like the comparison to Amazing Spider-Man because I think they're different movies.
Yeah, of course, but I'm
I
talking
get
in
the
vibes.
yeah, I get the vibe. I get the vibe.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I like the main character. I like his dynamic with his family. The chemistry is they feel like a family, which is great. I didn't find the movie overly I didn't think most of the jokes landed. Didn't find it overly funny. I think the moments I liked the most were the ones where it's him in the suit, and you see it in the trailer when he cuts the bus in half, and it's slow motion. His eyes go wide and he covers his face like, oh my god, like that's quite funny, and I think it's mainly his performance. I think I really like him.
Yeah, I think this. Okay, I think the humor in this movie, it. I wouldn't put it on like Big Bang Theory tiers of laughter because anyone. Oh my god, if you've ever watched Big Bang Theory, look it up on
It's not
YouTube
funny.
and find clips of it without the canned laughter. It's not funny. I don't think it's anywhere near the tier of that kind of like forced laugh along kind of thing. I think the jokes are safe to a degree. There's some that actually like you kind of go, hmm. But I don't know. I found myself smiling.
I think the action's quite good.
The action's
for the most
phenomenal.
part.
Yeah.
For the most part, the action is really good. I found some people on Twitter comparing the final battle to the final battle in Spider-Man from 2002. I think that's really far. I like how he looks like he's been in a fight by the end of it, and that's great. I like that, and that's it. But it's far from the best superhero final fight I've seen.
Oh no, it's not. I think
and a bit. Sorry, go on.
No, you finish, please.
I was going to say, and a big problem with that is the fact that the villain is terrible. It's another. Oh, it's the same thing, but bigger. And the guy has no character. The guy has literally no character. Up until a point that we'll get to in spoilers.
Yeah, that bit you're talking about in spoilers, I would rate the villain like a nice mid-5. Maybe a 4.5. Like, look, he's bad guy with similar powers to the hero. Like, surprise, surprise, who could have seen that coming? In like, the origin movie that's gonna kickstart, or not kickstart, but maybe I don't know, waddle a little and fall over the DC universe. But I mean, he's got a little bit more to him than the likes of Obadiah Stane, who's just like, grr, profit, grr, money, grr, terrorism.
Right, okay,
like,
okay. At least Obadiah Stane is present and has a relationship
that's
with
very
the hero
true. That's very
throughout
true.
the movie.
That's very true.
We'll get to it more in spoilers.
Yeah, we'll get to it more.
Yeah. I think in terms of representation, the movie is really important. Almost the entire cast is Latino, as is the director, and I think it's important that we have this kind of representation in movies. I think it's important for us to say that. But I just wish the movie had been better.
That's fair. To my knowledge, this movie went through a few rewrites as well, didn't it?
I'm not sure.
If memory serves me right, it went through a rewrite or two. And actually, this movie's been in a bit of developmental hell, if memory serves me right. When was Blue Beetle announced? It was announced in 2018.
In fairness, we have had a pandemic in between.
No, I agree. Oh, and pandemic also screws quite a bit up during movies. You can really tell when a movie is pandemic made.
You really can.
But I'll be honest. 2018, 5 years down the line. I think whenever I look at an announcement date as well, I always give it like a year before as well, because there's a lot of corporate like loopholes people have got to jump through, and a lot of things that need to be approved, and a lot of marketing that needs to be pitched to commissioners. So 2018, 2017. I think this movie's had a little bit of a rough one, especially with COVID, all the developmental time.
Yeah.
It's not the best movie out there, but I do think it's not great, and there's been a lot of factors that are out of the movie's control that have added to it not being great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's had a rough ride, and it's considering that it is, it's well made.
Yeah.
But I just didn't find myself invested. I didn't find it interesting, which is a real shame. I also have a problem with the way that the movie uses the suit and the voice of the suit.
Okay.
So that voice isn't really given a character. And I was kind of waiting for a scene where, the two would discuss, where the thing came from, or what it's doing, or what it wants, and we don't really get any of that. And
yeah. There's parts in the movie where I genuinely think parts of the script were just chopped off, like at the throat. But we will save that for spoilers, I guess. Because it's a shame, because I think with a little bit more explanation, a little bit more character given to what realistically should be your Venom to your Eddie.
Yeah.
Like, there could be a little bit more to it. There could be a little bit more life to it. It's... I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Should we just jump into spoilers?
I think it's time for a big old spoiler warning.
Okay. Before that, we'll just say, what would you give this out of 10?
Oh yeah.
Because we
out of 10. I'm gonna give this movie a scraping 7.
Scraping 7.
Scraping 7.
I'm gonna give it a flat 5.
That's fair. I respect that.
Yeah, I do want to say as well, while we're here, I've got to give a big shout out to the 9-year-old kid who was sat behind me during this movie. Every time the villain would say or do anything, they murmured a passionate, "No! No!" Adorable. Absolutely adorable. But then, extra weird, they were with their dad, and it got to the end of the final fight, and the dad was like, "Oh, the movie's over," and the kid was like, "No, it's not." And I was like, "Yeah, no, it's not. What are you talking about?" And the dad was like, "Oh, no, yeah, no, it's basically over. We'll just go now." And they left after the final fight with like 2 minutes left.
Oh my god!
Like, what's wrong with this guy? Your kid is clearly invested in these characters. What's wrong with you? So yeah, very adorable, but also, what a douche.
Yeah.
Okay, if you have not seen this movie and do not want to be spoiled, go away now. We are leaving the spoiler alert here in a moment. But if you have seen the movie or just don't care about being spoiled, then here's your spoiler warning. And now, spoilers. Spoilers.
What an amazing spoiler warning. So heavily produced.
Thank you. It really took me a long time to do it.
I can tell. So
I did that 4 years ago, you know.
I know.
I remember specifically when I did it as well. I had to do it for the second episode I ever did was about Tarantino. And it was because we'd just seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And so I had to do a spoiler warning for that. It was great. It's a great time. Okay, the villain has no character. We've got to talk about this villain. He has literally no character. He barely says any words up until the final moment. He's about to die, and we get a long flashback showing his entire history. And it's like, this feels so stupid. I felt genuinely like a little bit offended that they thought this would work on me, that I would care about this guy now. Oh, well, now you've told me his entire backstory in 30 seconds before the end of the movie, then yeah, I do care. What a great villain. No, do not care. Stupid movie. Stupid villain. I hated it so much. It wound me up.
Okay. So, alright, okay, first of all, I'm gonna give the footnotes on who this guy should be.
Okay.
So this is Conrad Carapax, also known as the Indestructible Man. He is a rival to the original Blue Beetle, Daniel Garrett, whose costume we see in the kind of Blue Beetle basement, I want to say. Yeah. Next to Ted Cords, who's the second Blue Beetle. Now, Conrad Carapax is trying to figure out what the hell happened to Daniel. He's a little bit of he's actually kind of stupid in the comics. He's very egotistical. He's one of those guys who assumes he kind of knows what he's doing when he doesn't. And he travels to Pago Island, which was Daniel Garrett's kind of like one of his kind of stashes of his technology. And he finds this kind of alien warsuit, and he's like tinkering with his headset, and he's like, "Oh, it's going to allow me to control the warsuit." And he accidentally uploads his brain and entire consciousness into the suit, killing his body. So his new body is the nigh indestructible alien warsuit. He was introduced into the comics around the 1960s, when Ted Cord was kind of coming out of his goofy golden age phase, which I actually quite appreciate because he appeared, I believe, in the first annual of that. So it's kind of like, it's close to the kind of reboot of DC for the Blue Beetle title. And they brought that back. I appreciate that. Anyway, from there, he kind of goes a little bit crazy. Ted Cord has to put him down. But of course, he's the Indestructible Man and keeps coming back. One note should be made about his one run-in with Jaime Reyes in the comics, where he has turned his body into a steam-powered version of itself. It's no longer this big alien piece, it's just a steam-powered mech suit, and I think Blue Beetle shoots him once and then walks away. Which... You know, there's so many better villains for Jaime Reyes. But on top of that, we've got OMAC. So the OMAC suit in DC. Let me get my notes up.
Oh, so this is a mashup of two.
This is a mashup.
A mashup?
Mashup. Okay. So just an international checkmate. Um, OMAC is effectively like an AI which has ties to Blue Beetle, which it does steal its kind of shape shifting stuff from the Scarab. But aside from that, it's it's a piece of tech that's like really heavily tied to like so much more of a bigger plot with the entire Justice League.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a shame that they've, I don't know, just like taped it together and stuffed. Oh, it's OMAC. Oh, I can see what they're trying to do, but it's so very far from what OMAC should be.
Yeah.
However, at a retrospective, so if I, before you shit on me for like saying the villain's not, horrendous.
No, no,
If,
please.
if 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 I write down, if like without the movie, if I were to like create a wiki page of this villain, and I write down all the story beats, out of the order that they appear in this movie, he's not a horrible villain.
No, that's absolutely right. Everything on paper, he's quite an interesting villain. But the execution is
The
awful.
execution is fucking dreadful.
Awful.
Like,
it's genuinely, it's all strung together in a 1 minute sequence as he has a knife to his throat. He's about to kill this guy, and he's like, hang on a second. Let's see why this guy's like this. See why he's being all crazy goofy.
also,
So stupid.
side note, I get the idea that the final OMAC suit, or the Carapax suit, I'm going to call it the Carapax suit because it's not an OMAC suit, should be, I mean, the original one that before they hardwire it to the Scarab, all that jazz, it beats the ever-living shit out of Blue Beetle. They don't need that Scarab.
No, they don't.
Like, they really don't. Like, the OMAC suit before it gets the upgrade, it's like a walking tank.
Yeah.
Like, it can, like, jet boost, it can, like, shoot missiles, machine guns, it can, like, punch the Blue Beetle through walls and shit. You don't need the Scarab. Like...
But there's also, like, this is one of my problems. Like, that scene, Blue Beetle does get an upper hand at a point, but it's the suit taking over.
Yeah.
And that's, like, one of the only times in the movie they actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
And then, sure, like, there's a moment later on, there is an exact moment where they do become symbiotic and they work together. But the voice isn't even there. He's not talking to the suit. He's talking to his dad. And it's a really emotional beat, and I like that. I like those performances. But then, where's the Scarab at all this?
I also...
Because then after that, they're just, like, having a couple of bits of banter. It's like, they haven't worked anything out. This guy... Jaime doesn't even know what this thing is yet. Doesn't know what it wants with him, what its motivations are, where it's come from, and why it picked him. It doesn't know it. He doesn't know anything by the end of this movie. He's just like, well, I guess we're stuck together.
I really fucking cackled at that emotional beat whenever he like leaps towards the floating body of the Blue Beetle suit.
And it was like Adam.
Fucking Adam and God touch. Like, at least have them like clasped hands or something. Why the fuck is it like them?
It's the fact that he's talking to his dad in his house. He looks out the window and just a giant Blue Beetle suit is out there floating.
Yeah!
I really like that.
I thought that looked goofy as all hell. Okay. I really need to talk about Ted Kord in this movie.
Okay.
Like, how well lived the universe feels for someone that knows the comics.
Okay.
Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, is, like I said in the non-spoiler section, used to be a household name of DC. And if you have stuck with DC this long, you are bound to have heard at least of Ted Kord, Blue Beetle. He is best friends with Booster Gold, a time traveler hero who has all this future tech. He comes back in time and he's like, my superpower is going to be a superhero because I know when all the disasters are going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm
I was
going to
gonna say
show up. He's from Small. He
yeah.
showed up in Smallville.
Oh right, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Are we getting a TV show or a movie about
I
him?
believe so.
Yeah, James gonna announce that, didn't
Yeah, or I mean, yeah, I think he did actually.
he? Yeah,
And if he did, it fits excellently with how this movie leaves off. But I think this movie did an excellent service to the kind of legacy of Blue Beetle. It made the universe feel lived in. It made like Cord Industries feel like it's there. It's not just taped on. Like, oh, it's an industry, it's a company. Oh, there's this one guy called Blue Beetle once. I you're made to kind of feel that Blue Beetle had a presence in the world, and I appreciate that quite a bit.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Jenny Cord as well in that movie was not bad. I enjoyed Jenny Cord.
Yeah, she was cool. I liked. Yeah, I liked her.
She didn't have a bad performance either.
No, absolutely not.
Her actress actually she put in some work with that.
Yeah, there were some moments that I thought were really really good. I don't think there's a problem with any of the performances here.
I do.
Go on.
Hold on. Let me get her name. Let's get it. Where are you? Yeah, Sarandon.
Susan Sarandon. You didn't like Susan Sarandon in
No,
this?
I thought she was like the most whiny fucking villain ever. Like, I'm gonna be honest. If you're telling like,
I mean, she's here for a paycheck, isn't she?
yeah,
She has no
really
idea what's
is.
going on. She has no idea what the hell's going on,
You know
what
what?
anyone's talking about.
It's like whenever she's like, Carapax, kill him. Say it with a little bit of heart. You're an evil woman who like abducted a child that got bombed by your company and is now like wired him into this like murder machine, and you're like, kill the other child, kill him. Like, you at least say it with a bit of heart. It kind of feels like,
Do you want a second take on that one, Susan?
yeah,
No, we're good.
No,
We're good.
you're good. Okay. She's like, your father disappeared, and if you don't stop snooping, you might as well. It's like, it's the most half-assed performance in my opinion. I cannot be convinced that she's like an evil supervillain, like corporate supervillain, that's this like heartless, like fucking numbers crunching megalomaniac. I can't.
Yeah.
She
I get that. Yeah, she I don't think she was the worst thing in this, but she wasn't.
no,
right.
but
wasn't great.
the issue is she is unfortunately the catalyst that is one of the catalysts that is driving the movie. It's her greed, and
Yeah.
I just can't get behind her. It's like, I think this.
Maybe you should get in front of her. Sorry.
I think the term I describe like the energy she brings is, like meh. So she doesn't.
It's a curious noise to choose. I'll be honest.
Meh.
Um,
No, but like I feel as if you punched her, she'd be like, "Oh no, I've been punched."
Why'd you do that?
I know she's an evil villain. Whenever she's like getting dragged off to be like self-destructed, she's like, "Carapax, no, no, Carapax." It's like watching like white parents like in the U.S. who can't parent their children. They're like, "No, stop that, Tyler, stop it, no."
You starting to sound like Mark Wahlberg in The Happening. What?
What? No. Oh, that's awful. But yeah, it's like that's what it reminds me of. It's like, yeah, she's here for a paycheck.
Yeah. I get that. Yeah. She totally is, and that's, You know what? Good for her. She deserves it. She's done a lot of good for a long time.
But we deserve better
she's earned
villains in
one.
this movie.
We deserve better villains for sure. I'm glad that she got the bag, but also, come on.
Come on. Come on. Like, she looks the
honey.
part as well. She gives a really intimidating stare. Like,
She does.
but, I don't know. I just didn't feel exactly threatened by her. I was like, oh no, she's back on screen.
Is that because she's a woman, Hamish?
You know
Is
what?
that what it is?
Completely no. Male villains only. No.
Did you stay for the post credits?
Yes, I very much did.
I did not.
What? What's wrong with you? Okay.
In fairness, I had tickets to go and see something else straight after, so I had to run.
Shame on you. Shame. For shame. What did you watch
Shame.
after?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Fuck you, dude.
I know. It was so good.
Right. Okay, so the post-credit scene is, you know how they turn on, like, Ted Kord's computer, like, Jaime's uncle figures that out in the movie. The post-credit scene is the computer flickering on, and it turns out that Ted Kord is alive somewhere. He is trying to send a signal to his daughter, saying that he is alive. He doesn't know where he is, but he's out there somewhere. We get to see like a kind of blurred outline of his face, like trying to talk through like static and stuff.
That's cool.
So the big theory is that he has gone off with Booster Gold. They get up to some absolutely bonkers shit in the comics. And it kind of fits the vibe that they go on some sort of crazed, like, meth-fueled adventure and they vanish.
What did they say at any point how he died in this movie?
No, he vanishes. He goes out to go be Blue Beetle, and he just winds up not coming home. He disappears. Which gives me a big thought towards the kind of Booster Gold time travel stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I am so incredibly down if we get a Booster Gold, Blue Beetle, like, kind of buddy cop stuff. Yeah, it got announced in January, the Booster Gold show.
Yeah, so that will have been with with the Superman and the Batman thing we're getting as well.
Yeah, I am so incredibly down for it. They're like the most annoying best friends, and I'm kind of here for it. I mean, I know it's bad podcast etiquette, but in general, chat, I'm just gonna quickly post something for you. It's a little like front cover of a Booster Gold comic.
Oh,
like,
cool.
Like Blue and Gold, like they are like the most annoying like duo of friends, and I'm so ready to watch them tear up the screen together, if that's where Ted has gone.
That'd be cool. I'd watch the hell out of that. That sounds really fun.
Like they are such they're not useless superheroes, but they are so very well known for getting into situations way over their heads. Like, I'd be interested in watching it. I don't know about anyone else, because again, Blue Beetle's not exactly a well-known.
Well, I mean, they're doing what is it, the group show they're doing?
The Authority.
The Authority. I've never even once heard of that in my life. The first time I'd heard about that was when James Gunn said they were doing something about it. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, that's great.
Yeah.
So I have faith that James Gunn will be able to, because obviously I know this is part of the new DCU, but James Gunn had nothing to do with this. So I have faith in going forward. DC should be doing okay.
I think the Authority is... He's gambling quite a bit on that. He really is, especially since the Authority is kind of packed full of names that no one is going to know, aside from Superman, who shows up to like deal with the Authority. I think once. It's interesting, is what it is. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I'm incredibly excited to see what they do with Ted Cord, Booster Gold, and I shout out to them, including Daniel Garrett. They had absolutely no need to. They could have just gone with it's Ted Cord. But I mean, they rolled with it. They gave the history that the character deserved, and I'm really happy they did. There's a lot of people talking about who's the actor from Ted Lasso? Main
Jason Sudeikis.
Yes, there's a lot of talks about him having been cast to play Ted Cord. Which I would be so happy if that was the case. I would be so incredibly happy if it's him.
I do like him.
I think he fits the vibe of Ted excellently. And it would be yet another character he plays called Ted.
Called Ted, yeah, there you go.
But yeah.
Is there anything else you want to mention? Because I'm kind of done with this.
I think there's a whole lot chopped out of the script in regards to the development between Jaime and the Scarab.
Yeah, absolutely. That's my biggest problem with this. They're just together at the end. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
We learned the Scarab's name in a passing line.
Yeah.
And
I still don't know it. And don't tell me because I don't care.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'd really like to see some more. I also don't know why the hell.
Please, sir, can I have some more movie?
Yeah, please. I'm also really confused why at the beginning the Scarab was hidden across like what? I can understand why it's hidden across like several different dig sites if Ted didn't want it falling into the wrong hands. Why the fuck is it in a giant ball? Like, what?
I don't know, man.
What?
Don't
What?
ask me this shit. I don't know. I just work here.
It's. Huh? It's mind-boggling stuff. I think the family's actors are all fantastic. The fact that the grandma was a Cuban liberator or like revolutionary.
I feel like that joke went on just a little too long.
It did.
At first, it's quite funny and it's like quite out of nowhere, but then like it just sort of keeps going. I'm like, okay. I get it. It's funny, grandma. Grandma can't do that.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's like the same thing I saw in Aliens in the Attic when I was 9 years old.
Oh my god. Come on. Really enjoyed the scene whenever the Scarab, the Ted Cord's big Scarab, begins to walk. They engage beast mode, as it's called, on it. It starts walking.
Oh, it starts walking.
It impales a guy on its foot.
Yeah.
That was. You know what? I really enjoyed that. I really, really enjoyed that sequence.
Yeah, all the action is really good, and the director Angel Manuel Soto, he's directing a new buddy cop action movie with Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista.
Okay.
So I'm absolutely there for that because this guy can clearly do action. Clearly can do action and can do good, fun dynamics. So I'm excited for that. If the script's strong for that movie, then
exactly.
It should be good.
And gives me all the more faith for a Booster Gold Blue Beetle show. But yeah, aside from that's my highlights. I think the end fight is brilliant. I actually had to run to the toilet just before the end fight, so I did miss a little bit. But I think it was just Grandma shooting some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the movie leaves off in quite a nice place.
It does leave off in a nice place. Just like we're going to leave this spoiler section off in a nice place. Welcome back.
Oh my god.
You miss so much. You miss so much. Where have you been?
You should go watch the movie and come back.
We were worried about you. You've not been here for so long.
Yeah, go watch the movie, come back, and spend more time with us. And if you really enjoyed us, check out our past episodes as well.
Oh, you're so good at this.
Thank you.
Before we go, we're gonna sell you a bloody movie or a TV show or a game or a music or a book if you're a nerd.
Oh, I'm gonna let you take the spearhead on this.
Oh Christ. I would like to sell you a movie I saw on the same day as this.
Oh, here we go.
I've got the Limitless card at Odeon, and so if instead of going, because I don't drive, so I walk to and from. It's like 20 minutes there and back. So I just sort of go once a week and go and see a bunch of movies in one day. And so I went to see Strays, the new comedy starring Will Ferrell as a dog. And it's about a dog that gets abandoned by its douchebag owner, and he's trying to get home. He meets some other strays along the way, and they have an adventure. And it's very much in the vein of like a what is it, like Homeward Bound, that sort of thing, where it's like talking dogs, or like Air Bud, that kind of thing. So it's got the animation on the mouth that makes them look like they're talking.
But
it's rude.
The selling point of the movie, to my knowledge about the marketing, is fuck people who abandon their dogs, and they should have their balls bitten off.
Yeah, no. The movie's marketed as it's a dog movie, but they say swears, and that's a fun gimmick to get you, because that will get my butt in the seat. That will do it.
Yeah.
I'm a simple man with simple taste.
I'm not saying I'm cheap, but I'm cheap.
But this is the third comedy film I've seen this summer that has just been like, I've gone in thinking this will be fine, and it's full of solid jokes.
Really?
A couple of really big belly laughs and a lot of heart. Like, No Hard Feelings early in the summer was really solid. I love Jennifer Lawrence's performance in that. I saw Joyride a few weeks ago, which was really solid. Again, it was some really big laughs and a lot of heart. And this is the exact same. Like, Will Ferrell is such a good vocal performer. He's got like two modes. He's got like Ron Burgundy and like, I'm trying to think of another, Elf, where it's like sweet, doesn't really know anything, and it's just kind of like, oh wow, okay, I'm just gonna believe everything you say. And that vocal performance in this movie is just perfect for this character. The dogs are adorable. Like, I'm a simple man. Dogs are cute. I think the movie's really funny. It's got a lot of crude humor. There's a lot of like, Willy jokes and poo jokes, but
nice.
That's what dogs do. Dogs sniff each other's butts and they poop a lot. And thankfully most of the poop humor is put into one specific scene. But yeah, the movie's really cute, a lot of fun, and I think when it comes on Netflix, it's going to be like #1 for a while.
Okay.
Because I think people are going to discover this thing. So yeah, I want a dog, and yeah, go watch this movie. It's kind of fun. Strays. It's everywhere at the moment.
Awesome. My recommendation's gonna be there's a little bit of a story to this one. So.
Oh, I love a story.
After last week's episode on the GOAT tournament, where Prey measured up to, I think it was Watchmen.
It did.
And I was like, look, Watchmen's on my own list, but it's just not gonna happen. Also, go watch that. Go listen to that episode if you haven't listened.
It's really good. It was a really good episode.
So yeah, I was like, look, Watchmen is not winning this one. Prey's phenomenal. And I found out my dad hadn't watched Prey, so we sat down and watched Prey. And he really enjoyed it. Now, after that, I was like, I'm going to rewatch the Predator movies. I absolutely love the Predator movies. And I know I can't rewatch the Predator movies without our other co-host, Alex, who I introduced to the Predator franchise, and they are obsessed with it, and rightfully so. It's awesome. And then as I was like scrolling through it, I was like, oh my god, some of the later movies are absolutely dog shit. Looking at you, The Predator, who really unfortunately has Boyd Holbrook in it, who's like one of my favorite actors out there. Boyd Holbrook, your number, please. And it's a shame. And I was feeling really down. Because I'm autistic, and that kind of thing genuinely upsets me. And I came across my parents watching Ted Lasso downstairs, and sat down. I hadn't started season 3 yet, and Joe and Sawan are the culprits for getting me into Ted Lasso, because I used to come downstairs. So I used to live on the 3rd floor of our house, come all the way downstairs once in a while to like eat dinner, and then go back upstairs because I could not be bothered walking up and down 2 gigantically steep flights of stairs.
Yeah, they were steep
They were
stairs.
dreadful. I fell down one of them and put my leg through the banister. It was so painful. So painful. But I think that night I wound up like taking a seat with my dinner and then not moving for I want to say 3 hours about like a show I had no clue what was about. I was like, this feels really nice. Like, it just feels right. And I've restarted season 3. I'm watching season 3 right now. And please, 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 if you want a movie that's gonna like make you find faith in humanity again, not a movie, sorry, a TV series, go watch Ted Lasso. That series will make you find like peace with the universe once more. It's just a damn good feel-good series, and it has so much to say about mental health.
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
You're preaching into the choir here.
Yeah, I mean, you're a converted
show.
Ted Lasso fan.
Yeah, no, I was watching this from day one when it first came out.
Rightfully so.
You know, I'm a big football fan, so I was like, a show about football? Absolutely.
But it's not.
And then,
it's not about football, is it?
Well, that's it. The first season ended, and then I told my friend at university, I said, you gotta watch this show, man. He's like, I said, it's about football. He's like, okay, I'll check it out. And he described it in the perfect way. He said, you come for the football, but you stay for the relationships.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's absolutely it. That's absolutely it. The show's really well written, and it's I think I've talked about this before, but it's got a wonderful when there's it's like anti-conflict. The whole show is anti-conflict because two people will have like someone's kept a secret from someone and it gets revealed. They'll have a discussion about it, or if someone's upset about something that someone else has done, instead of letting that build up, they will discuss it, and it will be resolved.
Like,
and it feels really real, and not sensationalized for TV.
Even when you think there's gonna be some sort of like fight, people take a second, they breathe, and they go, you know what? Let's talk about it.
Yeah,
it's really like validating to people. Like, I've quite a bit of patience, like when it comes to arguing with people, and I do my best, my utmost best to like take that second and breathe. And it is so like validating to see other like a TV series that doesn't just sensationalize like ripping into each other. It teaches us that we can be good people, and it is possible, and it's just
absolutely
damn good show to watch.
Really good show,
and it also reinforced my like faith in the Predator franchise. So, thank you, Ted Lasso, for doing something you never thought you'd do. But yeah, that's my recommendation.
Some hearty recommendations. That is going to do it for this week then. Thank you so much for listening. Next week, we've got a special guest coming on. Fans of the podcast from a while ago will recognise the voice. But you'll be seeing that next week, and we're going to be coming back to another blind pitch. So if you missed our last blind pitch episode, make sure you go back and check it out. It was a lot of fun, and Hamish loved it. So we'll be back
I
next
came out
week
on
doing
top
another one of
last time,
those.
didn't I?
You did, and it will be fierce competition this time.
Oh,
I've
okay.
gone away. I've made a new list of titles and actors and actresses, so yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Make sure you check that out. Hamish, where can the people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at Beaten Hamish. Super original name. My second name first, and my first name second. Ooh, I nearly got tripped up on that. And as always, if you haven't taken your medication, I am in your walls. That scratching noise you hear at night, that's me.
I'm gonna start hearing scratching noises all the time now.
Yeah, exactly. Xander, where can people find you?
You can find me on Letterboxd. My thing is The Real Xander LW. The link will be in the description. Everyone's links will be in the description as well. Make sure you check out our Twitter account, which is run by Alex. They're still having great fun with that.
They are having insurmountable amounts of fun posting on
that. Also, make sure you check out our Instagram pages, which have posters every week done by Joe, who's incredible. So thank you, Joe, for making those. And yeah, we will see you next week for our Blind Pitch episode with our special guest. So make sure you tune in for that. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.
See ya.